Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Vaughn, and I am here with Charles Billingsley. Charles just released a new album, and he's actually just recovered from COVID-19. And so we're going to talk to him today about both of those things. Charles, how are you doing today?
Oh, well, I tell you what, I'm doing a whole lot better than I was a couple weeks ago. So I'm doing great. Thanks.
Good. Um, I would love to hear about this new album, I Was Made for This, just out on Stowe.
Well, we've had a great time making that. You know how it is when you're making projects, full length projects like this. We've had this thing done since probably mid-January. And oddly enough, we chose April 10th to release the record. Now, that's not an odd date, except for the fact that that just happens to be the night one of the nights I was in the hospital with COVID-19. And of course, with all this coronavirus pandemic and everything, it was an interesting time to release a project. But actually, it's turned out really well, and we've had a great response from it. And when you write these songs, you have no idea what kind of response you'll get, but it just so happens that the songs we wrote 6, 8 months ago, so many of them are so timely for what we're going through right now as a nation. So it's been a really wonderful time, honestly, musically for me, and I'm just hoping these songs are blessing people.
I love the fact that you've redone We Believe by the Newsboys. There's two
Mm.
songs on here written by Sting. Come on, that's amazing. And
Yeah, I mean, what kind of idiot tries to remake a Sting song?
I,
I don't know what I was thinking, but I tell you what, it turned out really cool.
it's really, really good. I recommend everybody go listen to this album. There's a song on here called Play the Man that you said was very important for you to do for your boys. I'd love to hear the story behind that.
Well, when I was about 8 or 9 years ago, I wrote a song for my boys called Baby I Blinked. And it was about them kind of coming out of that young stage. And it's like I blinked and all of a sudden they were in high school, right? Well, now they're 19 and 20. And I just felt like I wanted to write a song to them about what it is to go from, these teenage years to becoming a real man of God. And I read Mark Batterson's book, Play the Man, which is an incredible book. I would suggest every father and every man read it. Um, but the title comes from a first century martyr named Polycarp. And he was the first century um, bishop of the church of Smyrna. And he was actually a disciple of the Apostle John. And Polycarp, the Romans were after him, and of course they grabbed him and put him at the stake, to burn him at the stake as a martyr, and because he wouldn't recant his faith. And as he was being burned at the stake, literally his flesh would not burn. The fire could not consume him, and so they actually took a spear and actually killed him. But as he was in the stake, and as the flames were all around him, a voice, an audible voice that many heard, came through the heavens, and it said, "Be strong, Polycarp, play the man." And that's sort of a story that's kind of gone down through the centuries, but man, what a phrase, "play the man." And so I just decided we'd try to write a song around that phrase, inspired by Mark's book, and it turned out pretty cool.
You also co-wrote on here a song called Rise Up. I think it's
Mhm.
a great anthem for us as Christians today. And what was your inspiration behind that?
Well, the book of Isaiah, Paul Balash and I wrote that together up in New York City. He actually was writing the verses from a cab, and he was stuck in traffic. It's really funny how we wrote that song. By the time we actually got together in Brooklyn physically, the song was two-thirds finished because we'd been writing it on the phone from the cab. But that song is a really inspirational song to me because it just reminds people that in the midst of all this thing, God's called us to rise up and be the believers he wants us to be. We can live with boldness. We can live with power. We can live with strength, not because of our strength, but because of the strength that he gives us. And so that's basically the gist of the song. But it also is the theme for the Women of Joy conferences where I'm the worship leader. And so if we ever have one again, because they've all been canceled, it'll be a great tune for us all to sing together.
So, as a songwriter, I want to know what's your favorite lyric you've ever written?
Oh man. Uh, you know, there's a song on this new record called Where You're Supposed to Be. That's one of my favorite lyrics. But I would have to say my all-time favorite was probably a song called Golden Streets. It was on this record. Do you remember Pamplin Records a long time ago?
I do.
I was with Pamplin Records, Natalie Grant and me. And I wrote this song because I had just gone through a horrific time in my life in 1998, where in 1 week, my grandfather committed suicide. And then 4 days later, we lost our unborn baby. And it was on a Saturday morning that I was sitting there on my couch. My best friend called me and he said, "Hey, was your grandfather a Christian?" And I said, "Yeah, he just threw in the towel, you know." And he said, "Well, I had a thought." He said, "You know, do you realize your grandfather's going to be the first one to carry that little baby down the golden streets?" And that morning I wrote this lyrics, and it's still to this day one of my favorite lyrics. It's just from the perspective of one who's already in heaven. I've
Right.
sung it at hundreds of funerals, and it's just been a real inspirational song over the years for me.
And if there was a song that you wish you had have written, what's your favorite?
Man, well, there's an obscure song from Larnell Harris many years ago called "The Desert of My Days."
I know that.
And that, you remember that song? Well, that lyric to me is one of the most amazing lyrics ever written. Some of the old stuff that Bob Farrell and Phil McHugh were writing for Steve Green and stuff, some of those lyrics are just amazing. And then, I think back to His Strength is Perfect by Stephen Curtis. But if I had to choose, it probably wouldn't be one of these great worship anthems that the whole world sings, like Tomlin and How Great Is Our God. I mean, the simplicity of those things, but the whole world is singing them, and that would be fun to be a part of writing something like that.
If you have a message of hope during these times for our viewers, what would it be?
Oh man. Well, first of all, we're in the middle of a unprecedented times, obviously. I mean, who knew that in an 8-week period we would go from riding as high as we've ever ridden as a nation to as low as we could go. I think God is really forced upon all of us a Sabbath, so to speak. It's amazing how in 8 weeks God can say, "Oh, you're gonna put all your trust in your money. Well, watch this. You're gonna put all your trust in your health. Well, watch this." And suddenly, God just showed us in one fell swoop how everything is so fragile and everything we know can go away just like that. And yet he's forced this Sabbath upon all of us where we have this extra time at home, all this extra stuff. Man, why not take advantage of that time then to spend more time with Jesus, fall in love deeper with your family and with the Lord, and just get to know the Lord. Be still and know that he is God. We can come out of this as stronger believers than we've ever been, stronger as a church than we've ever been, and stronger as a family than we've ever been, if we'll just take advantage and do what the Bible says, redeem the time.
Charles, I love that message. And thank you so much today for spending this morning with me and talking to our viewers. Please go and listen to his newest album, I Was Made for This. And I'm so glad you're better. We're all so glad you're better.
Thank you. I am too. Thank you.